Welcome back. In our last section, we started talking about the order of transactions and what a transaction was. Are you a buyer, you a seller? You remember all this. And we said a basic short position. A basic position. Remember, cash flow is how you position yourself, right? If you position yourself the right way, cash is going to flow towards you. So basic short position. And we said there's many ways to do it, but the first way we're going to talk about is step one is to borrow. Okay. Step two is to sell. Okay. Step three is to buy the item. That says boy, we want buy. And step four is to return what you borrowed. Okay. And if you people have a return. See how I don't spell? See, now I got to do that whole thing over. See, we're gonna do it over too. As a person who doesn't write and spell and doesn't have a talent for that, sometimes I let it go. But this is so important. It's important to get these words as close as I can. So borrow, sell, buy, return. We're gonna take a picture of that because that baby is way valuable to us, right? We're going to take a picture of that, and we're going to go ahead and move some of this over here, right? And maybe we'll use it again, maybe we won't. And we're going to bring our little formula over here like this, and just keep it right there. And we're going to put a balance sheet and an income statement up here so we can have our little opposite thinking right here, just looking at it. And then we're going to do example after example after example after example, which would be 4 examples. And what I found is we could use anything here. We really could. We could use anything we want here. Let's also bring a little chart. Maybe we can make that a little bigger. We'll keep our little list right here. Maybe we'll make that a little smaller so we know what to do. And let's just take a whole bunch of objects, because really this should work with anything. And I think what will really help is sometimes we'll short money, and sometimes we'll short a stock, and sometimes we'll short other stuff. And we'll really learn to kind of change our mind to get away from money and look at stuff instead of money, maybe. For example, I very much liked our analogy of bacon and eggs with with the chicken farmer and the rancher here. There was no money involved. Now we'll certainly use money here, but keep in mind, what is a buy and what is a sell, right? Buying is what's coming towards you, and selling what's moving away from you. That's it. And the more you work on that idea that you're always a buyer and a seller simultaneously, you're always a buyer and a seller, that's when you become a proficient trader and someone who works in exchange. No, they don't call it the New York Stock Buying and Selling Association. They call it the New York Stock Exchange. They don't call it the Chicago Board of Buying and Selling. They call it the Chicago Board of Trade. And transactions are how people get rich. One might say that part of financial education is the study of transactions that will make you rich. It's simply sequences and how much and making transactions. Having money work for you is about buying and selling stuff, right? You're always a buyer and always a seller all the time. It's just we tend to not focus on the currency. We tend to focus on the other items. So let's do something that's a little different right here that might be fun. Let's just take an object and let's do a fundamental analysis on an object, not a stock, not a currency, not real estate, just an object. And it's something that everyone has in their possession almost. Let's take a cell phone, and this is the one I use most of all, is I use the analogy of the cell phone. And this should be a lot of fun, okay? This should be a lot of fun. We're going to do a fundamental analysis. Now, when we did fundamentals, we came up with this notion. This is policy and demographics equals the future. So when we look at, let's say, Apple and their little smartphone here, or whatever, Galaxy or Samsung or whoever, what's the demographic? Who buys these? Well, darn near everybody. Young, old. It used to be the young people in technology. Now old people have cell phones too. So the demographic is everyone, worldwide, awesome demographic, and they buy phones. So we can safely assume with a high degree of confidence, I think, that people are going to buy smartphones in the future. Now, there's some obsolescence risk here. I showed my sons a rotary phone from a great uncle that I had that passed away, and we were going through his stuff, cleaning it out. There's an old rotary phone. He was still using it till he was 92. And there's this old rotary phone. Well, maybe there'll be some obsolescence risk and people won't buy phones anymore. But for now, I would say that these are pretty safe for the next 5 years as of this recording, that they're going to keep making new ones and better ones, and that there's a high demand for it. So that's the demographic. Okay, what's Apple's corporate policy? Is their policy to say, that's it, we got the iPhone here, we're not going to make a new one? Is that their policy? Or is it like, we got to innovate or we're going out of business? If we don't sell new phones, we won't make money. So their policy is they come out with a new phone every year or so, right? So we want to know the future. So what degree of confidence? So let's put the phone back. Stay put, flying phone. What degree of confidence level of the future that they'll come out with a new phone? I would say in the next year to two, my confidence level is very, very close, approximately to 100% that they will. So I know the future now, okay? Now let's say that if I got on eBay right now and one of these, jailbreak awesome phones, whatever, let's say it's about $600 to get the newest model, the one we have right now. Well, I believe that when they'll come out with the new one, so maybe they have like version 12 and they're going to come out with 13 or whatever the versions might be in the future, right? We don't know, 11s, 10s, whatever. There's a real likelihood, I think, and again, a confidence level that this iPhone, let's say it's an iPhone 11 maybe or something like that. Oh, what happened? We had a little crash there? Might have. Must have hit something or done something wrong and lost my my stuff here. So anyway, we're saying we think that this will be $600, and my confidence level is also close to 100%. Let's say this is an 11 model or whatever it might be, right? That if they come out, my confidence is 100% that they'll come out with a 12, right? And also that when they come out with a 12, I think the price of the 11 will go down. And so maybe it gets cut in half to where now the new models were 600, but the olds are worth 300. So I'm going to make a prediction based on this fundamental analysis and the technical trends of the past to say, definitely think they're coming out with a new phone. Definitely think that the old phone's going to drop in price. It just seems like as soon as I buy a computer, the new one comes out and my computer loses value. And as soon as I buy a new car, the next year model comes out and mine loses value. It's this constant freaking battle that everything we buy as a consumer, the moment we buy it, unless it's an antique, it loses value. And so this should be very easy to understand, that here we have an object that's losing value. Well, if we go back to what we learned before, right? If we go back here, we know that if it's going up in value, we'd want to buy it. So if I thought it was going 600 to 1,000, then I'd want to buy it. But since I think it's going from 600 to 300, I want to borrow it. Okay, and I think you're going to see how this works with each and every example we do. Painstakingly slow, lots of repetition. So I have a choice. Here I have something with a high confidence level using the 4 pillars: fundamentals, technicals. Now I have to decide how to position myself with cash flow. I have a high level of confidence that this is going to go down. So if I think it's going to go down, which arrow should I choose? Should I choose the up arrow and own it, or down arrow and borrow? I'm going to borrow this phone. So let's get some cast of characters in here, and let's get this young lady. And oh, she's got to be taller than that. Look at her grow right up there. We got this young lady right here. That's a little too tall. We don't want her to, be 10 feet tall, And then let's get this guy here that looks kind of perplexed because she understands this, but he doesn't. We're not going to exploit anybody. That's not the purpose. But we're just gonna work with these two people right here. and then we're gonna have some fun. So let's say that this person has a phone. So let's get it here. Here's his phone. He's got it. It's in his possession right now. Remember, we talked about the importance of what? Possession. So right now, since he has possession of it, he could do a couple things with it. He could sell it, or he could loan it out. So those are his choices. He could sell the phone, or he could loan it out. He could rent it, which really is all what a loan is rent. If I go to a rental car, they loan me the car, and I give them some money called a fee for interest. Bank money, I'm basically renting that money, and they charge me a percentage. So when I take possession of something that's not mine, it's like borrowing or renting, same idea. You're losing possession of what you have, but you're gaining interest or a rental fee, right? Hey, I don't live in my rental houses right now. I'm letting other people use them and borrow them for rent, and I let other people use and borrow money from me, and other people use and borrow cars and all kinds of stuff. So he can either sell this somewhere or he can loan it. And maybe she says, hey friend, can I borrow your phone? And I don't know if he charges her a fee or if he just does it good of his heart. Let's just say, yeah, you can borrow the phone. So now we see in this first step of borrowing, it's been accomplished, right? It's been accomplished. So in reality, we could put the phone here. Let's get another one out here. Can I copy this one? I don't know if I can copy it or not. Let's see if I can do it. Copy, and let's get one clipboard. Oh, that's a huge phone. Look at the size of that one. Let's take that down to size. So now my balance sheet looks like this. So it's kind of fun. I didn't borrow money this time. I borrowed a phone, which means I now, what was the word? I now owe this guy a phone. Owe is the word. And so I owe this to him, or she owes it to him, right? Remember, we have things that we own and things that we owe. So we just borrowed this, and in order to get this transaction complete, we're going to wind up at the bottom here returning this phone to him at some point. But between the time that we borrow it and between the time that we return it, there's a real big chance that maybe the iPhone 12 or 13 or whatever one that you want to use comes out, and that when we give it back to him, it's not going to be worth as much as it initially was when we give it back. That's absolutely true. Banks have to deal with that, right? A 30-year mortgage, you borrow money from a bank, the value of that dollar when you pay it back on that last payment 30 years from now, well, the dollar wasn't what it used to be, is it? And so the banks, if you're a loaner, that's kind of something you expect, that's something you deal with, right? You loan something out, you loan out a rental car, and someone drives it, they come back, maybe it's got a ding in it, it's certainly older, and it's got more miles on it, right? Well, that's expected. That's part of the game. That's what they understand. So when you rent a house and you give it back, often it's a little beat up, right? I mean, you loan people things, they go down in value. That's just part of the game. They know that. Avis and Hertz know that. Banks know that. They're not dumb. So he loans it to her. But he does it out of the goodness of his heart. He says, look, I'm happy with this phone. You take it for a month. I see you dropped yours in the ocean. Great. I want people calling me anyway. Take my phone. Great. So now she's got it. She's got this in her possession. But she didn't get it by buying it like this guy over here. She got it by borrowing it like this girl over here. So she's got that. Okay, what's the next step? She's going to sell it. So she's going to sell it. And right now the price up here, the high price up here is at $600. So this is going to be what? The sell price. So let's put that in parentheses. This is going to be her selling price. She's going to look to trade this phone for 6 $100 bills. And so she goes to eBay. And she marches over here with the phone, and she looks at eBay, and she says, well, I'll be darned, I can sell this for $600, which is amazing because now money enters the picture. And this is like way fun stuff, right? Way fun stuff. So watch this. she's going to sell this phone on eBay and she's going to make a trade. And what's she going to buy? She's going to buy money. So she's selling the phone. So now the phone, belongs to someone on eBay, and she's going to gain $600. So there's one. Look at this. This is fun to do. 2, 3, 4, 5, and nice and patient, $600 right in her hand, and she's just making it rain. It looks like here, having some fun. So right here, what's interesting is perhaps we take a step back and take a little picture of that. Maybe that's what we should do, is take a little picture of that. And so now up on the balance sheet, we better have her keep hold of it though, right? Keep hold of that money there. Perhaps now on the balance sheet, we can add this right here. So what's interesting is she's lost possession of the phone. Now that someone on eBay has this phone, she doesn't have possession over it anymore. But that doesn't take away the liability. She still has to get this back someday and give it back to the guy she borrowed it from, right? Just like when you borrow from the money from the bank and trade it for a house, you got to get that money back and return it to the bank someday. So this possession of the phone being lost is just like you losing possession of the cash that you borrowed to get a house, right? It's the same thing. So now she's got $600, but she's also got this liability sitting here. Well, we're halfway there. We borrowed it and we sold it on eBay. Borrowed his phone, sold it on eBay. Well, sure enough, our confidence was not misplaced. The iPhone, let's say 12 or whatever number we happen to be on. If you're watching this 5 years from now, maybe it's the iPhone 16, or maybe it's not even, maybe they don't even call them iPhones anymore, but there's something that's going to replace it. When it does, the original one goes down, now it's $300. And so once the price movement that we predicted has occurred, it's now time to change our position, right? And get out of this position and enjoy the cash. So the phone goes from here, and now it's down here in value. It's gone all the way down to 300. So what is it time to do now according to our formula? It's time, according to our recipe right here, to buy it back. So we're going to buy, oh my word, how do I do such things? Move that back down where it belongs. I'm going to buy at 300. So notice that we sold at the high price and bought at the low price. If you buy low and sell high, you're probably going to be in good shape. So how's she going to buy this? Well, she's going to go back to eBay, because now the value is down. And isn't this like the stock market a little bit? The price of the phone is going up and down. The price of the stock is going up and down. Isn't eBay kind of like a stock market with buyers and sellers and bidders and askers? People asking for money and people bidding on money. And isn't that kind of how it goes a little bit? I think that's exactly how it goes. And so let's see how much money she's going to have to spend. 1, 2, 3. So now this is how much money she's got left. So let's take a picture of that. So if we take a picture of that, let's now adjust. Whoop, now I'm opening up wrong programs here. Holy cow, what a disorganized mess today. So here, let's make this shrunk down. So now she no longer has $600. Now she only has what? $300 after this transaction. $300 right in her hand. But she also has a phone now. She has it back in her possession. Still has the liability, but now she's got $300 and the phone because she bought it back. Okay, traded back. So now it's finally time to do the last thing, which is return the phone to its original owner. So now she doesn't owe anything anymore. And look at this. Now she has something that she owns, which is really cool, because now she owns $300. Get out of here, phone. Come on. Don't be doing that to me. Now she owns $300 and she owes nothing. And that's a nice place to land. So my challenge to you is to do this. Have some fun. Get 3 people and facilitate this. Get 6 pieces of paper and turn them into $100 bills, right? Get a little chart with the price of the phone moving, and have one person be the phone guy, one person be the investor, and one person be the eBay guy. And so you have 3 people, and teach 3 people how this works, and just keep moving the money around, recording it on the asset column, and practice and get better at it. This is the 3rd time I'm going to say this. I said as we went through this, you'd feel your financial education growing. Is it? Do you feel there's something here? Do you feel that this is an order of transactions that is significant, and might this change and provide new opportunity for you? Think about this for a moment, how exciting this might be. The ability to make money when things go down with high confidence. Now think about the economy as it stands today. Maybe we've just had a crash, or maybe we're about to. But if you look at the financial statement of the United States and the central banks and all that, there's a lot of data that points to we could run into some trouble. And there's data that points to we could go up too. But if you know how to do both, at least now you can position yourself in this all-important cash flow pillar to profit by doing the same thing. You're not ripping anyone off. Look, you're buying low and you're selling high. That's all you're doing. You're buying low and selling high. The only difference is, since it's going down, you're going to sell first and you're going to buy second. Well, how in the world do you sell something that you don't have possession of? Well, get possession of it. Can I borrow the phone? Can I borrow the phone? It is this idea right here that we come back to that is paramount. If it's going up, we want to own it. That's a long position. If it's going down, we want to borrow it. That is the basics of a short position, is when you start off by borrowing something. And then, of course, we're going to turn what we bought in. But look at the order of this. Remember how we talked about the order of the transaction? Remember when we talked about that a little bit? The order, let me see if I can get this up here. Where'd my order go? Did I get rid of that? There it is, right there. Remember how we talked, whoop, that's not it. The order right here, the order of the transaction is very important, isn't it? Where here we were selling first and buying second. That's what we're doing here. We're selling before we buy, isn't that right? We're selling before we buy. The selling happens first, the buying happens second. Same thing here. What enables us to sell first? We take possession of the item by borrowing it. Then we sell it, let it drop, buy it back. As we let it drop and buy it back, the value of that thing we owe has dropped. And so anything we traded for, we get the difference, right? We're borrowing when it's worth a lot, and we're returning it when it's worth a little, and we get the difference in this period. So whatever value is lost between step 2 and step 3 goes in your pocket. See that? Whatever value is lost. In the long side, it'd be whatever value is gained between the buy and the sell you'd keep in a long side. In a loss, any value between the sell and the buy you get to keep. So how do you sell first? Borrow it, take possession. Sell it, let it drop, buy it back, return it, and you will keep the difference. Now, if this isn't 100% clear yet, join the club. How many times do you think we do this? When I do a live event, and I've taught this in all over the world in many, many, many languages, we practice this. We get everyone to print up some money and get 6 pieces of paper with 100 on it. We get another person to pull out their cell phone and another person to act like they're the eBay store. And we do this transaction over and over and over and over and watch the money come in to make sure we understand how it works. Do the same thing. We're going to do 3 more examples of this. Some people say, well, Andy, that's going to be redundant. But I just know from my experience that it takes a little time to understand this. But if you do the repetition and pause the tape and think about what's being said, it'll click. If you're in part of the coaching program and you have a question, then show up in that next coaching session and ask those questions. So this is our first example of where we we sold high and bought low. How did we do it? We borrowed the item first, then we sold it, then we bought it, then we gave it back to its original owner, where we owe nothing, right? Because we returned what we borrowed and we have a profit. Great job. When we come back, we're going to make a quantum leap. Instead of doing this with the cell phone, we're going to see if we can do this with the stock.